Sorry we couldn't work something out.
You'll be even sorrier if you let that little girl down.
Can't we just draw a line under all this? Shake hands?
It'll be a cold day in hell before I shake your hand. Do you know, when I was on the street, there was people you could trust with your life. Others, you wouldn't dare turn your back on. Guess which category you fall into?
Neither, because I'll never end up kipping in a doorway smelling like a kebab shop wheelie bin.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 274 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that asked AI to write this week's introduction and is ashamed to say it's much better than anything I've ever done or ever will do. I'm Gavin.
And I'm somebody. And more on that later.
You're somebody?
I'm somebody.
What am I here?
You're somebody. We're all somebody.
What am I? Chopped liver?
Please don't do that.
No.
What
that was my posh Edinburgh voice.
Really?
What am I? Chopped liver?
That kind of sounds like your American accent.
Oh, no.
Yes.
What am I? Chopped liver?
Yeah,
that
see,
would be
that's
my
basically
American
the
accent.
same thing.
No, I think there's a nuance there.
If you say so.
How are you this week?
Yeah, I'm all right. Got the book auction in full swing.
Nope.
Oh.
Marks and talk. Mark.
Yeah, mostly this week I just, I decided, unlike with the children's room auction, I'm just going to get all of the comic books in right in the beginning because they take a little bit longer because there can be more things wrong with them than the other kinds of books and everything. And then I'm far more tempted to read them at work, than I am the regular books because I know I can finish one in a shift. And I don't really. I skim. Mostly. I don't read like a whole one. Mostly I skim. Or I say that I skim so that I can find out, if it's someone's first appearance in the comic book and everything. Because that can, increase the value.
You've said the word skim so often, it started to lose its meaning. More of that later.
Yeah, and we have a week left of the children's room auction. I just checked it, and that Samantha Bewitched doll is now over $200. So I'm really kind of shocked and pleased.
Excellent.
Yes. How was your week?
It was fairly busy.
Yeah. More on that later.
More of that later. I did go and see Exorcist Believer, or Exorcist I'm a Believer, as I'm calling it, last night, and it was terrible.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it.
Well, it wasn't something.
Who'd have thunk it?
It wasn't something I was ever going to see anyway.
Who'd have thought that a movie by David Gordon Green and Danny McBride wouldn't be as good as the original?
Why are they still letting Danny McBride do things?
Why are they picking beloved movie franchises? Although I don't think anybody loves the Exorcist franchise. They love the Exorcist.
Right, yeah. They love the first one.
But it kind of, after the first Halloween, Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends really dropped off a cliff. So I don't know why they've moved on to Beloved Exorcist. No doubt they'll be moving on to Beloved Sleepaway Camp or something next, but dearie me.
Why do they let Danny McBride do anything? Can you think of one single thing Danny McBride has done well?
I don't think they should let him out of the house. He did Vice Principals, and that was actually kind of good. Remember Vice Principals?
Right. Yeah.
Is that your Edinburgh accent?
No.
Chopped liver?
It sounds so American.
Chopped liver. Was that different?
No, because the second one you did was obviously try to be a stereotypical gangster in New Jersey.
American. That's the whole point.
Yeah, but like the other one is more like your bland, everyday American Midwestern accent.
Get away with bland. Never been so insulted. Shall we preamble, my dear?
Yes, please.
Give us some of that chopped Corey news.
A scrappy little podcast about Coronation Street went viral this week thanks to a wee London clip they first shared 3 years ago. Good for them. I hear they're open to interviews. Because apparently some people who have shared it didn't bother to figure out who made it. And that's really insulting because you guys don't know how long Gav slaves in this room thinking up clever things to mash together for the amusement of the people. We barely see him for weeks because he's just slaving away, making content over and over and over again. You know, nobody knows what to think anymore. I've run out of excuses for our friends. Anyway, even the show did not credit us when they shared it on the social medias.
Well, not.
And how fucking dare them?
Well, not.
They especially.
Not initially.
That's especially egregious. Especially egregious that they wouldn't automatically, as soon as they share it, make sure. Radio 1 got it right. Radio 1 credited us. All you other people are not nearly as important as Radio fucking 1.
Oh,
and
honestly,
they got us
a little surprised
accredited.
at how outraged you're pretending to be about this.
I'm actually quite outraged. I'm not pretending. I am so indignant on how many people just called us, somebody did this thing.
Well, let's have a little listen to it, shall we?
Whenever they want to write a character out of Coronation Street, you know what they do? What? They send them to London.
This is Chuck Thomas on Talk TV.
And as a result, everybody on that show is terrified of London. So somebody has edited
Somebody.
Coronation Street over the years,
fuck you, man.
And it's quite funny.
Who are
Let's
you?
take a look at this.
I'm on my way to London.
London? She's on her way to London. London?
Also, can I just say, the MND
This is
storyline
Zoe Ball
Coronation Street at the
from
moment has been
Radio 2.
incredible. And speaking of Coronation Street, something delightful we saw this weekend was somebody has
Somebody.
Fuck you, ma'am.
of characters on Coronation Street over the years, shocked to the core at the very thought of people going to London.
I'm on my way to London.
London? She's on her way to London. London?
London.
Why are you saying it like that?
Richie, it's so good, isn't it? All the drama.
Let's should we bring it back to the UK?
And this is
Sweet
Greg,
old UK.
Greg
How
James
about
on
this?
My
Radio
favorite
1.
person on
Video that I
Radio
saw over
1.
the weekend. This was actually my favourite thing I saw over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Coronation Street podcast called The Talk of the Street.
That's us.
It's a
This is that
compilation of
podcast.
everybody in Coronation Street.
This is that thing he's talking about.
Yes.
This is it.
Mentioned
He's
that
talking
they're
about
going
us.
down to London, and then the reaction from the other cast members. This is brilliant.
Brilliant.
To London?
Yeah.
Not London.
London?
Going where?
London.
London?
I've been banging on the Barlow's door for ages. There's no answer.
No, she's in London.
London?
And with that, you're up to date with all the latest things.
We are all the latest things.
Up to date with all the latest things.
Just imagine if they ever got their hands on those clips of Jane and Georgia saying Dollywood.
Yeah, that moment's passed, unfortunately.
You do work.
it is.
You do work hard on these things. I don't think people understand how, to get it to get the clips lined up just right, to search them out and to cut them out and to put them together.
It's brute forced more than anything else.
Yeah.
I'm sitting waiting for them to say London.
Right. But there are other things. There are other like clippy things that you do and that you post that take it even longer and then never get any
Well,
love.
I do like to give credit where it's due.
Uh-huh.
And
It's you.
And even if it's like reading a comment that I've seen on Twitter, I try. I'm not always perfect at it. I won't pretend that I am. But if I try and take a note of who said something, because it's only right.
Yeah.
And I like how the Metro newspaper are good at quoting people that they steal tweets from. Liverpool Echo are quite good at it. The Sun's terrible at doing it. The Mirror's not that great at doing it. And
well, of course, the Sun is terrible.
And it takes nothing just to give people their due, because you get a little bit of a buzz seeing your name on a news site, and you get a little bit of buzz hearing the guy on Radio 1 Breakfast talking to 4 million people saying the name of your podcast.
Right? That was great. And,
so
and
no
let's be honest, he's the only one of those 3 clips who's important anyway.
Well, the Radio 2 one gets twice the amount of listeners.
Do you not like being brought up and being lauded by people?
I find it
Do you find it
quite uncomfortable
when
yes.
people praise you?
Yes, I find it very uncomfortable.
You are so British. It's adorable. But I'm
Chopped
American.
liver.
But I'm American, and I demand satisfaction.
Oh, we've noticed.
I'm looking at you, Radio 2. How dare you? And also that other one that I can't even remember.
The whole thing was really a rush, because on Friday afternoon, what I was trying to do was jump on the bandwagon of the Nando's Photoshop job that I'd done, that got the attention of one Colson Smith.
Yes.
So when somebody said London on the classic Corey, I was just in a rush to get that clipped, add it to my collection and post it.
Right.
Not thinking that it's going to get seen by or listened by upwards of 14 million people.
Yeah, and adding it after the whole Debbie saying, why are you saying it like that?
I know, I feel ashamed.
How dare you?
See,
is that
lined
better?
up properly now.
Is it better that now I'm criticizing you?
Yeah, I feel far more comfortable. Yeah, this is more like real life now. Anyway, it was a wonderful roller coaster of a weekend and start to this week. We got Georgia Taylor sending us
messages.
A Twitter message to say, by the way, your London clip, it was on Zoe Ball's show. That's a good day when something like that happens.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We love Georgia. And this is why. Because she's nice to us.
Yeah.
Take note, other people on the show. Be nice to us. Like Georgia and Jane are. And like Charlie used to be.
Oh, Charlie.
Oh, Charlie, we miss you so much.
I think we better move on.
Yes. After the 3rd week of reschedules, it seems fans of the show are planning an insurrection, with one person posting, nah, fix it or lose me, and another stating, can't cope with this anymore.
You're not going to name them?
No.
Because
the article...
on the chips off what you just said.
Because the article I read didn't quote them either.
Oh, okay.
So,
You're not
and I
going to
don't
quote
know.
that article?
No. Fuck them.
This is why giving due credit is not a thing.
It only
now
matters when it affects me.
Now we're as bad
Haven't
as
you
everyone
been
else.
in this country long enough to learn that? God bless America. And finally, Alison King has broken her silence about Chris Gascoigne taking an extended break from the show, saying that she hates it, but thanks to being friends in real life, it will be all right because she'll still get to see him every once in a while.
Yeah, and she said that...
she was really cute because she said, well, I'm just handing him over to his actual wife. He goes from his TWV wife to his real wife and then back again. So
lovely stuff.
He's always got a wife somewhere.
Kind of creepy, but I guess good.
And that's Corey News.
That's Corey News. And this brings us quite neatly on to the section that we're calling London. Everyone's a critic. Lily P writes this week, hello both, huge fan of the podcast here on England's East Coast. See, it's not just Canadian people.
I love it when actual English people like us.
It's for English people too now.
It kind of means a lot that English people take the time to like things and to tell you that they like you, because that's not typically something that English people do. They keep things bottled in. I think all British people do.
Are you done with your sweeping generalisations? I've got Lily's letter to read out here.
Oh, okay.
Racist Kelly stated her age as 20 last week, which would make her 4 years older than Max. Just a few weeks ago, Racist Kelly was concerned about being put into care if she was homeless. She wouldn't be in danger of being put into care at the age of 20. I'm guessing that she's lying about her age now. Keep up the good work. And I was quite taken by that, because what Lily's carefully done there is assume that racist Kelly is lying, whereas what Ad was doing was assuming that the show had got it wrong.
Both believable.
Max turns 17 in September, by the way, and Lauren was introduced in November 2022, so Max had just turned 16 when they met.
And had sex.
Which makes me think now, what about this relationship with Ryan if she's lying? If she is 16 or 17 and having a relationship with Ryan would be much weirder than if she was 20.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen.
Absolutely. Feedback is always welcome. Send us your thoughts and I will probably read them out like I did for Lily. Thanks for writing in, Lily. We really appreciate
Lily.
it. Get us at thetalkofthestreet@gmail.com and our DMs are always open at Corey Podcast. And now we'll podcast for coffee. We have another new friend of the podcast this week.
What?
I know.
They're just rolling in now.
Absolutely.
It's because I'm so charming.
Yeah, that'll be it. Thank you to Wendy. Wendy is our new friend of the podcast.
Wendy!
Wendy writes, before I leave for Vegas to see some Irish guys, I figured I better get some business done with you two. I work security in a big stadium and listen to you on my way to work, doing concerts and sporting events. You also keep me awake in the parking lot afterwards when I'm stuck in traffic.
Aw.
Something about you both keeps my head calm before and after the madness.
That's so lovely.
I also send random messages when I'm perplexed watching during the week. So I will send Bono your love this weekend until I go back to the grind on the 15th. Thanks for all you do. Well, thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, Wendy. Should we tell her how you feel about Bono?
Let's just let it glide, shall we?
If you want to hear about how Gav feels about Bono, you can listen to our sister podcast, The List of Lists.
Yeah, we really appreciate you becoming a friend of the podcast. The Talk of the Street is and will always be free on your podcast provider and on YouTube's. But if you think our show is worth anything more than the time it takes to listen to it, and if you want to show your appreciation, you can buy us next week's coffee by going to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/The Talk of the Street. You can also sign up to be a friend of the podcast like Wendy did through the same link, where for as little as $2 a month you can get a mention in the closing credits of each and every episode. And remember, Helen, you can always support the podcast for free and get us in front of new listeners by liking, subscribing, rating and reviewing wherever you get your podcasts.
And properly crediting us when you share our stuff on the socials.
Although don't expect it to cut both ways, apparently. And now, this.
Welcome.
Well, welcome to Last Year Tonight with me, John Oliver. Just enough time to quickly talk about my tangents of tangents. There's no chance of you remembering this.
My tangents have tangents. Let's see, who has ADHD on the show? Is this Max?
That's right, this was Mary talking about wanting to be Mary Crozier and whose point just went a-wandering. She figured that she'd end up being like a character in Bergerac.
Ah.
I was Gavin and you wanted everyone in the UK to repeat Pico de Gallo, not Pico de Gallo.
Right, yes, it was Mexican Week, the most notoriously racist episode of the British Bake Off.
It's when Bake Off got racist, folks.
Ever. Well, it wasn't the first time it'd been racist, but this was the most
racist week.
Racist week!
This gave you yet another excuse to complain about that Mexican meal we had at Smiling Jack's in Stirling. Coronation Street accommodated...
I will never let you live it down.
I enjoyed it. I don't care what you think. Coronation Street accommodated us with episodes on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday so we could do Homecoming that week, which was the same this week.
Yes.
I complained about that schedule, but I've actually been quite enjoying it over the last 4 weeks. This seems weird just not having something to do on a Friday. In 4 years, this was the first time we'd recorded at 4 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon. Homeless Stu is forced to choose between pursuing intangible justice or building metaphorical bridges. James discovers a coaching opportunity in that London that would take him closer to Danny. Jenny takes a spill before quiz night, which puts Glenda in charge of proceedings. Dev takes an olive branch to Bernie in hopes of rekindling their relationship. Aggie and Tim, enjoy a shopping trip in town to source an anniversary gift for Sally. Mary is concerned that Ken is giving her lines to Wendy in his script rewrites. And Maxie's positive progress through the pupil referral unit gives David hope that he will return to Weddy High. Brian likes a show tunes karaoke round. Billy drugs the bishop. And Welsh Nigel isn't gay. Our moment of the week was Jig Tig with Dev and Mary. And our boring moment of the week was Brian talking about his hair to David. And that was Coronation Street. And the talk of the street this time last year.
Remember how shocked we were to learn that Welsh Nigel liked women?
I don't think we believed it.
No, I don't think we did. And neither did lots of other people, like Mersey Tart and Dan. I missed them. That's like one of my few regrets of getting off of Twitter is, some people I missed that was the only place I would see them.
Yeah.
So, Mersey Tart, Scott, Dan, if you guys want a Blue Sky code, just let me know. I'll hook you up.
We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back with this week's recap. And we're back. Shall we dive in, my dear?
Yes, please.
Now, seeing as our little podcast got a bit more exposure this week than usual, I have put 3 jokes into this week's recap, and one of them is new.
Haven't we already done 3 jokes? So you're all out of luck.
Our first storyline tonight is 2 weddings and a Polaroid. It finally happened,
Oh, well
Joel.
done.
It finally happened.
Well done.
On Monday, Paul's at the Quad House getting prepped for the wedding, keen to know if Todd has been able to come through on the secret from last week. He was asked to do a secret thing last week.
Yes, he was.
Paul is a little worried that Billy won't take it well, but Bernie...
Because it's a threesome.
But Bernie and Gemma are sure it's the most romantic thing they've ever heard of.
Okay, so maybe not a threesome. Those aren't romantic.
I think you've been involved in the wrong threesomes. There's joke 1. Meanwhile, outside, Billy catches Summer and Dee Dee chatting about something secret. He's all suited and booted and ready to go and has some fizz for everyone when they're ready. At the bistro, a woman with an acoustic guitar is playing YMCA. And I kind of like that. I like acoustic versions of songs generally anyway.
Well, I do too. However, this was the first bit that made me think...
Exhibit A.
Did the writers just sit around while they were writing this and say, okay, everybody, just name gay stuff. Name gay stuff. Let's put all the gay stuff we can think of in this episode. And the first thing they came up with was the Village People.
Well, this was written by Damon Rochford and Jonathan Harvey. And one of them was the other one's best man at their gay wedding.
Oh, that's awesome.
Isn't it?
I was kind of shocked that there was no reference to uppers, but you know what? It's fine.
Uppers?
Not uppers.
Poppers.
Poppers. See, you know more about gay stuff than I do.
There you go.
You have something to tell me, Gav.
Yeah, poppers. That's what I had to tell you. Billy and Summer come in and she walks them down the aisle. Daniel is surprised at how well an archdeacon scrubs up. Daisy would definitely shag Billy. Paul comes in with Bernie and Gemma on either side of him, and Billy seems to get a shock to see how frail he looks. Paul, though, looks proud as punch
he's
handed
cute.
over to Billy at the top of the makeshift aisle in the bistro. Billy uses his speech time to regret the time that they spent apart, allowing other people to come between them, and then he pledges his life to Paul.
And David looks at Todd and says, he's talking about you, which I thought was hilarious. Jack B. Shepherd just continuing to amuse me when he's on the show.
Oh, what is that a veiled dig at?
Shh.
I can't work it.
Wait. But can I ask, why were David and Shona invited to this wedding?
Well, David and Billy were friends.
Were they?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever seen them friendly.
Round about the Josh storyline until Billy put Josh up. But then I think Billy went back to the hospital and looked like he was going to turn Josh's life support off. Or I might just be imagining that.
Yeah,
but
and then they were never seen together again.
They used to be pally. They haven't been pally in a while.
Right, so it was confusing. But it was also funny.
And then also David and Paul shared a cell.
Oh, that's right. Inside, so. That's right. I forgot all about that. How could I forget season 2 of How I Met Your Mother?
Season 1.
Was it? I thought it was season 2.
That was season 1.
Oh.
Paul has got ChatGPT to write his speech for the second time in 2 weeks and focuses on what a smart, posh, former heroin addict sees in him and how long they have left together. Paul says Billy is the love of his life, the starsky to his hutch, the cannon to his ball. Now let's get fucking wrecked. and they are declared husband and husband.
Yeah, it was my Thelma to Louise, my Starsky to my Hutch, and those are people in professional working relationships, and women running away to drive off a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
None of them are in romantic relationships with one another.
Neither were Cannon and Ball.
Those aren't even people.
Yes, they are. Tommy Cannon and Bobby Ball.
Oh, see.
Tommy Cannon, who follows us on Twitter.
Sorry, Tommy.
I don't think they broke America.
They have not.
What a lovely wedding. It was so emotional, even the cake was in tears. Joke 2.
That was such a shit dad joke.
Yep.
And yet I'm laughing at it.
It's a good joke. Everyone is fair enjoying themselves, apart from the Allahans in their own storyline, while Paul distracts Billy with talk of how much Billy wanted a church wedding, even though he maybe mentioned it once in the passing and seems surprised when everyone keeps bringing it up.
So is there a specific reason why their wedding cake was a log?
Was it?
Yeah. It was like a stump of a tree with like their names carved into the side.
Oh yeah, because they saw that tree that time. Soon it's time to cut the cake, and as Billy and Paul are doing that, Chesney appears and slips a set of keys into Paul's pocket on the down low. Billy wants to make an emotional speech, but Paul just wants to cut the cake and get fucking leathered, so they do that instead, with Summer being the official
so
photographer
romantic.
With her Polaroid camera. Yeah, Chesney seemed to be, I don't know if he was best man or if he was just the MC, but he was like, now it's time for the speeches. Here, Paul, here's a microphone.
Yeah.
Good job, Chesney.
Good job, Ches.
Outside, Paul is pretending that he needs air, but he has a surprise for Billy. He's found a vicar willing to marry them on the sly in a church.
On the down low.
What do you say? Paul realises that they could get into trouble for this, but they could be married in God's house just like Billy always wanted that one time. Seemingly, Billy's mate, the Reverend Degsy, has taken pity on them. No one will ever find out. Fuck it, says Billy, let's do it. So half of the bistro wedding pile into Todd's van and fuck off to St Mary's, one of Billy's churches.
Ooh.
At the church, Billy's in a church, in a church, Billy's in a church. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Billy's in a church, in a church.
In a church.
It turns out that Billy really did want this desperately, and he's in tears as he walks down the aisle towards Paul. Fair's fair. It's his turn to walk down the aisle the second time.
Right. It's ridiculous, though, isn't it? All that talk of, oh, well, God is everywhere, so it doesn't matter. God is here. God is within our hearts.
Nope, he lives in the church.
Nope, that's the only place he is. What the hell, Billy?
I've come home, says Billy. Reverend Gegsy doesn't look like you'd imagine, and he and Billy have some low-key pastor banter. So they exchange vows again, and you know what? I think they give it a little extra this time, and Summer is there with her Polaroid. Billy and Paul get their happy day after all. Todd urges them to hurry up and get the fuck out of there before the Pope shows up or something. And then we're all back at the bistro with the guests not deemed important enough for the church do who haven't gone home, and it's time for the first dance. Billy helps Paul out of his chair, and as they sway to the communards, thank you for a perfect day, says Billy. I wish there could be more perfect days, says Billy. Everyone cheers, but then we cut back to the church, and in the aisle, it looks like Summer has dropped her Polaroid. This stupid bitch.
Yeah, it was weird. It was like we pan back to an empty church, and it's like, what's going to pop out? It was a little terrifying. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh God, is somebody going to be there? No, it's just a picture.
There was a reason for Summer having a Polaroid camera after all. It was so this could happen.
So she could shake it like a Polaroid picture, which is something you're not supposed to do.
Now, I think I upset Den a little bit by
how could you do that to my precious Den?
By actually quite liking the wedding.
Well, that's because they love Billy so much. They want Billy all to themselves.
This is true. I liked the wedding, though. I thought they did it well.
I liked parts of the wedding.
I'm not sure I'm all that bothered about the church part of it, because really, Billy didn't seem to me to be all that bothered.
Right, and it was so weird because a lot of the, spoiler write-ups and everything were kind of hinting that he was going to be really, really mad at this.
He was going to be outraged.
And Paul was going to be crushed. Crushed, I tell you. Like Rana. under the roof. God, we haven't had a Rana crushed joke in a long time, have we?
A couple of weeks. So yeah, it's been a while.
It's nice because it's the first Coronation Street gay wedding. They finally caught up to everybody else. Am I hugely fond of the fact that they've fallen back onto the old trope of we're going to make the gays happy and then we're going to kill one of them? Mm-hmm. Not especially happy about that. But at least, typically it's lesbians who are going to die. So at least they've saved the lesbians this time around.
Yeah. I mean, I think it all comes down to the acting from Peter Ash and Daniel Brocklebank in the roles of Paul and Billy, who really sold it. Mm-hmm. And I read an article where Daniel was saying that the tears that he was crying were real because of the emotion of what this represented in the first gay marriage on Coronation Street.
Right.
I can understand why that would be such an emotional
thing for
heft
him.
For the two of them. And I think it came through in the performances. I think the two of them were great together. Mm-hmm. Far better than they've been in the weeks and months leading up to it.
Right, exactly.
Where we're constantly kind of reminded of the fact that, if Paul wasn't dying, Billy wouldn't be marrying you. You said that a couple of times.
Right, yes.
And that all seemed a little further away during the wedding. I thought it was good. I thought the supporting lot were great. I thought Bernie was great.
Yes, she's always great.
And Todd, it was just nice having we've missed so much of that apology that it's almost now I don't know why I'm even going back to it, because how Todd managed to get back into that circle, I have absolutely no idea. But the three of them together having a hug was, I thought that was kind of lovely.
How did Sean not get invited to this wedding?
Would you invite Sean to your wedding?
He's kind of fun at parties, but probably not. But I haven't slept with Sean.
But as an ex of Billy's.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe that's why.
One is an ex.
Maybe that's why.
Well, Todd's also an ex.
But Todd's also a dad.
Right. Yeah. Why doesn't Sean get to be part of the Council of Dads? Because he's already got his own son. Got it. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
Yeah. And then, of course, it all comes crashing back.
And the music was great as well.
Yeah. Well, some of it.
I really liked that YMCA. It made me learn the chords.
I was like, when it first started, I was like, I know these lyrics.
I was the same.
What is this? Mm-hmm. I know this. What is this? And then she starts singing YMCA, and it's like,
young man,
oh, God.
There's a place you can go, I said, young man.
Right, yeah. I'm trying to think what, 17th century Irish dirge that I'm fond of. Mm-hmm. Were they quoting? And I was actually going to be really impressed that they dug deep into cultural history of English folk music or Irish folk music or any folk music. And then it just turned out to be the Village People.
There you go. On Tuesday, Billy and Paul are glowing in wedded bliss and calling each other husband and stuff.
Is that where we're calling it now?
What a
wedded bliss.
Perfect day yesterday. The honeymoon breakfast is in Nina's rolls. How quickly the sheen comes off, doesn't it?
No, but they have pain au chocolat.
Bernie is showing off the wedding pictures from yesterday, but Billy's disappointed that the money shot isn't there.
Yeah.
The one where they came all over.
That was a little creepy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Billy calling that the money shot.
Where they exchanged rings, not that other thing that I said.
Right.
Summer rummages
like
around
that.
in her bag for it, but with no luck. Gemma, meanwhile, has never seen Paul so happy. He's quite happy.
He is happy, and that's nice.
Later, Billy gets a call from Greg the Bishop. He's been called to an urgent meeting, which doesn't sound good. Paul reminds Billy that no one could know about yesterday because they tidied up and they locked up behind them, so all that's going to be fine.
Sure,
Still,
they tidied up.
Billy is like a hen in a hot girdle as he hurries off. So back at the God flat, Greg the Bishop, who we last saw stoned out of his tits this time last year, has been speaking to the church warden who found the money shot on the floor. Dirty, dirty boys. Greg the Bishop asks for an explanation. Billy comes clean that after a civil ceremony he wanted to say his vows before God, and a blessing, which is what they had planned to do, just wouldn't have cut it, and they couldn't wait for that long anyway because of Paul's condition. Billy says that he doesn't regret it and he's not ashamed. Greg the Bishop thinks the church is moving in the right direction, but it's not fast enough for Billy. Greg the Bishop is quite pragmatic though, doesn't think anyone needs to know about this, and he's prepared to turn a blind eye. So, no harm, no foul.
Well, that's quite nice of the bishop, isn't it?
Yeah. He's still kind of laid back after he got stoned out of his tits.
That's correct.
Later, Billy explains this to Paul, who's relieved that they've got away with it. Billy is keen not to tell Summer because woe betide Summer takes responsibility for her actions for once. Billy and Paul are about to head out when Greg the Bishop comes back, high out of his tits again, and he explains that there's been a development. The church warden hates the gays and has riled the parishioners up into a homophobic frenzy. The church has been defiled. Greg the Bishop doesn't agree, but it's a breach and he can't ignore it. He thinks, though, an apology would go a long way. Paul is disgusted at the suggestion, but Billy remains silent. And later, after Greg the Bishop has left, Billy checks out the social media posts, which are mostly Leviticus-based. Shelley's brother has had his say too, that prick. Billy makes it sound like he's never out of the church taking care of these people, and needless to say, the mood has soured somewhat on going out for dinner.
Just a wee bit. I am glad, though, that they had Billy mention the fact that the other things that are banned in Leviticus are tattoos and wearing clothing made of two different threads woven together.
Both of which apply to Billy. With his big tribal tattoo over his shoulder and the multiple threads that he's wearing as he's eating shrimp.
I forgot about the shellfish.
Instead, they go back to Nina's Rolls and tell Bernie and Summer and Roy what happened. And then Billy gets a call from Radio Weatherfield while Bernie gets to posting some pics on her social media. Her handle on Friends Connect is Bernie Winter 69. Oh, Bernie.
Of course it is.
Oh, Bernie. Back home.
I wonder how... Because Dev's really tall and she's really short.
Everyone's the same size in bed. Back home, we still haven't found out what the weather...
You know that's not true.
What the Radio Weatherfield thing was about. But we all learn that Bernie has posted the photos and it's a Christmas miracle. The internet has been kind and the pictures are full of positive comments and lots of people in similar situations but without keys to a church. Who's standing up for these guys, pleads Paul, and this seems to give Billy food for thought. Mm-hmm. So it turns out that Billy's been invited on to Radio Weatherfield, and he turns up when a DJ is hosting a football phone-in, which transforms into a theological debate phone-in on a sixpence. The DJ asks why Billy ignored the church's law on gay marriage, and Billy explains how he wanted to be married in sight of God. The DJ asks if the church is wrong, and after consideration, Billy says it is. And he can't keep quiet about it any longer, and he makes an impassioned speech about being made by God, and his love was made by God. It's time for the church to live up to its promises, where the word is what matters, not where you stick your bobby.
Yes, amen. It's nice to, finally agree with Billy on something.
But again, the whole in sight of God thing.
Right.
Because God lives in the church.
Right, and nowhere else. Come on, Billy.
At home, Summer, Gemma, Paul and Bernie listen to Billy refuse to apologise for his love, and then the phone-in topic switches to the ideal number of consecutively smaller spoons you need to properly taste the tomato sauce, which we'll get to in a little bit.
That was... Oh, I can't wait for that.
Fucking hell, says Summer. Fucking hell indeed. Billy gets back home, worried that he went too far, while Paul and the others think that he was fabulous. And then Billy gets a call from Greg the Bishop, who heard Billy on the radio, agrees with the sentiment, I gotta love Greg the Bishop, but reckons that Billy's position is untenable and he's been put on indefinite suspension. Is this how we get round the fact that Billy's never in a church? He's going to lose his job?
What else is he going to do? How can he live without serving soup to the homeless?
Well,
and occasionally gathering clothing for the homeless.
That one time.
And occasionally, very rarely, doing funerals and weddings.
On Wednesday then, in the God flat, Summer is bashing the bishop about how unfair this situation is. Billy is in his civvies as the phone rings. It's for Paul from the fancy wheelchair place. They're looking to deliver a fancy wheelchair later today.
Ooh la la.
He's thinking about challenging Izzy to a race. I would like to see that.
I would as well.
So Billy and Paul pump. Oh.
I know where your mind is.
Coronation Street after dark, folks. So Billy and Paul bump into Ed outside Nina Rolls and ask him to help out with the door to the flat, which is too narrow to let the fancy wheelchair in. It does look like a very fancy wheelchair, though. Then Summer spots a crowd walking across the street.
Uh-oh.
Do you recognise these people? She says, it's my parishioners. Parishioners, assemble. And it's a group of like half a dozen people who look angry as fuck. But the lead one, Babs, announces that she and the rest of them are 100% behind Billy and Paul.
Yes.
And they congratulate them on their wedding.
Right. They're angry as fuck at the bishop.
Yep. Which is a shame for
kind of
Greg the
unfair,
bishop.
yeah.
And they brought a bottle of fizz to help celebrate the nuptials.
Which is cute.
Rather than invite them into the flat, though, Billy gets cups and they all hang about outside on the street drinking wine in the middle of the day.
Classy.
And then a grumpy old parishioner, Vaughn, comes along, and he's the opposite of the parishioners assemble and thinks that Billy and Paul will be going to hell.
He also looks really familiar. Has he been in other stuff?
Probably. Billy thinks this is outrageous and tells Vaughn that he loves Paul very much and his husband is dying, and so Vaughn will get his wish soon enough. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to see if these people need a top-up on their debuts. Babs thinks that Vaughn is a stinking old bigot, and she prays for a miracle for Paul, and when Ed tells them that he can work on their door in 2 weeks, Babs and the parishioners all pitch in and say that they'll do it now. Paul, though, wants a private word with Billy. So back up in the God flat, Paul explains that he heard Billy refer to him as being on his way out on death's door, and it struck him for the first time how much his death is going to affect other people.
Oh, for fuck's sake. He knows this is not the first time he's realized that his death is going to affect other people.
No, I thought that was kind of weird as well.
It was. This scene is so terrible. It made me so angry because here is the dying man apologizing for dying.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. My death is going to hurt you. What the hell?
But the whole reason why he got into all these scrapes along the way, like stealing the car and stuff, was to get money to help Gemma out.
Right. To help other people.
That he wouldn't be able to do once he's dead.
Right.
So he's kind of been going through this with an understanding of how his absence is going to affect the people that he loves in his life.
Yes.
And Bernie and him basically had a conversation about it.
Yes, they did.
That's why Bernie was wanting to give him all our little charms and stuff and our healing crystals and what have you. Because this was how she was dealing with his impending demise.
Yes.
And this was explained to him.
Right. Yes. Yes. So this scene is superfluous and kind of offensive to people with, terminal illnesses.
Well,
that they need to apologize to people for their dying.
Ed has helped out the drunken God squad rip the door off of Tracy's flat, because remember, this is Tracy's flat.
Right.
And apparently, she's fine with this.
Yes.
Paul makes another speech written by ChatGPT to thank them for sticking by Billy in his hour of need, just to rub that in a little bit more. And that's as far as we get with that this week. I agree. I think the whole Paul supposedly coming to terms with how him not being there is going to affect the people around about him currently is a nonsense, but it also feels like something that they just threw in at the end to try and make up a little bit of time on this storyline. Because it doesn't mean anything, it doesn't go anywhere. There's going to be nothing that comes out of it much, I wouldn't have thought, because it's kind of dealt with.
Right. And remember they had that huge argument where Billy was like, you have no idea how this affects me and how I lay awake at night so worried about this. And Paul told him to fuck off because he's actually the one who's dying.
But how can he stand in God's bistro as well as the church?
Right.
See the look on Billy's face.
Right.
The tears in Billy's eyes.
Right.
Listen to the speech that Billy's making.
Right.
And not think, you know what? I think he's going to be quite upset when I'm not here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a kind of stupid thing for them to do.
Right,
I
really
kind of
was.
wish they hadn't bothered with it.
No, me too. We could have had more stuff with the delightful Babs, who apparently has arms of steel. Mm-hmm. She does Krav Maga.
I don't know what that is. I thought is it kind of macrame?
No. It's a form of martial art.
Is it?
Yeah,
Oh,
and
that's
it's
probably-
pretty intense.
That's Babs for you. I wanted more Greg the Bishop. I like that man. We are building, and we'll get another one later on. We are building a lovely little community of tertiary characters.
Yes.
Like Swain.
Right.
Like Gadass.
Yes.
Greg the Bishop, I
Yes.
feel, is part of this as well. Just
Right.
these characters that you don't see
All
all
the
the time, but when you see them, they're amazing.
Yeah.
I would like them to break away and form a rival soap opera, because I'd be all over that.
And the kebab man. We could put the
The
kebab
old
man in
kebab
there.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little kebab man. And the fish guy. We haven't seen the fish guy in ages.
Couple of years.
Are there no more fish in Manchester?
There was that one fish joke that they wanted to make in the bistro, and that's been the
That's
last
the
of
fish
that.
guy gone, sadly.
No, I liked, as I said, I liked the wedding, and I liked the little complication, because Billy shouldn't have had that wedding in the church, because he knew that this is
Right.
potentially what could happen. And would Billy be wanting to do something on the sly in the church?
Right. Yeah.
A secret wedding in the church just doesn't seem like something Billy would be
Do you think
over.
Do you think maybe they wrote 2 scripts for this and they accidentally gave the spoiler people the wrong script?
Maybe.
Because yeah, I mean, Billy, bless him, is very by the book most of the time.
Yeah.
You know? So you would think he would at least hesitate a little bit more than he did. He did, to his credit, say this could get Pastor Dumbledore.
That's right. To give him his full name, Reverend Albus Dumbledore. Yeah, this could get him into trouble with the Ministry of Magic.
Right, with the Ministry of Magical Jesus.
Right.
So I don't know why I said Dumbledore, because I couldn't remember the guy's name and I knew it started with a D.
It's Gegsy.
It's a G?
Gegsy, yes.
I thought you were saying Degsy.
Well, maybe I did. I thought it was Gegsy.
Those are all ridiculous names.
It's a nickname. Gegsy is a nickname.
Well, how can he be Pastor Gegsy then? That can't possibly be his real last, because Paul wouldn't be familiar enough with this guy to call him by his nickname. That seems rather informal.
He didn't look like a Gegsy to me.
No.
But anyway.
What does Gegsy mean?
I think it's short for Gregory or something like that.
He did kind of look like a Gregory, but that wouldn't be his last name.
Gregory could be a last name.
Could it? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you be suspicious of someone whose last name is Gregory?
I'm suspicious of everybody at this point. The fact that there was a consequence to that, I think, is interesting. I think the idea of Billy not in the church anymore, I don't know if that
It's
frees
just
him up a
every
little
day,
bit.
isn't it?
But here he is. He's got his own little storyline that doesn't involve Paul, which Den will be happy about.
Right. But it does involve Paul. Because
Well,
he's married to Paul now.
For now.
And the whole reason why he got into trouble was Paul. This was Paul's idea, let's remember. Paul organized this whole espionage. Yeah, I'm kind of glad too. Although, can you imagine Billy doing anything else besides being a man of the cloth or being a heroin addict? Is there a middle ground?
There isn't. In society, there isn't. You're either one or the other.
Right.
But I think that this might give him... I don't think he gets drawn out of this vocation by losing his archdeacon job.
Right.
I think what he ends up doing is setting up his own church.
Right. Yeah, maybe he will become an Episcopalian because they're cool with gay pastors.
Well, I think the Church of England is as well, it's just they don't want to marry them.
Well, yeah. Episcopalians are down with the gay marriage as well.
Those are vegetarians that eat fish, right?
No, that's pescatorians.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's joke 3.
Yes. And they actually do have Episcopalians, I believe, in the United Kingdom, whereas I don't think they have Methodists who are also down with the gays. Or most of them.
I have no idea. Moving on. Our next storyline tonight is Aadi of Love. On Monday, Dev is down in the dumps, upset that Asha would rather stare at her phone than speak to him. And then he gets a call from Chesney, though. He says it's business. I've got a business call, but it's Chesney. And he's got some bad news. And it turns out that someone's panned in the kebab shop door window. Dev can't be bothered calling the cops. And
through the mesh and through the bars.
And seems to be happy leaving it to the insurance, forgetting somehow that he's going to need a crime number for this. Chesney has found the item responsible for the damage, and Dev and Asha instantly recognise it as Aadi's snow globe that we saw last week.
Dum dum dum. And it hasn't broken.
Oh, those things are solid, aren't they?
No, they're glass.
More solid than a reinforced glass window? Maybe not.
And they're also glass.
In Nina's roles, Courtney Boobs is off into town to meet her pals, leaving Aadi still pissed off that she didn't tell him about the bribe. Courtney really couldn't care and tells him to enjoy his wedding. Asha comes in and privately tells him that Dev is on to him because he was stupid enough to use his fucking snow globe when he smashed the window. And at the wedding, Dev tries to make amends with Aadi, who sits separately from him and Asha. And Aadi is in no mood to let this slide, and has a dig at Dev about the $5,000 before leaving him to it.
I'm sorry, we'll get back to this. What is Dev's relationship to Billy and Paul? Why are they at this wedding? Because like I said, they didn't invite Sean, who they have an actual relationship with. I don't think I've ever seen Dev and Billy. No, wait. Dev and Billy got that drunk that one time.
They did.
Why did they get... Well, Summer and Aadi were kind of dating for like a hot second.
That's right.
And
also,
so that got them an invitation to the wedding?
Well, Paul enjoys kebabs. And Bernie works there.
Oh, right. And Bernie is Paul's mom, and she's also shagging Dev. Okay, all right. I'm good. Carry on.
Took us a while, but we get there. Asha tries to give Aadi a hard time about ignoring Dev until Summer points out that today is important for other people's reasons, so either they make up or fuck off. So Aadi goes to speak with Dev,
Summer.
Despite not forgiving him, when the police come into the wedding to speak to Dev about the broken window.
Hi, I know this is a happy occasion, but we need to speak to these people. Can I have a piece of cake, please?
You called the cops on me, says Aadi. You broke the window, says the copper, and Dev urges everyone outside to chat about this. Back home, Dev is 1,000,000% Dev.
He is so Dev. Well, he goes up, and then sometimes he's not quite so much Dev, and then he's so Dev, and then he's yes! No! I love when he says tit-tit-tit.
He tries to convince the cops that he doesn't want to press charges and offers them free kebabs.
And bribes them with kebab.
And asks them to let him take care of this, which they eventually do. Although
they do give him a warning.
The two cops look the most confused they're ever likely to be during this exchange.
Yes, but the one cop is really looking forward to free kebab.
Yes, he is. Afterwards, if Dev thought that Aadi would be grateful, he's got another thing coming because Aadi is still under the impression that it was Dev that grassed him up in the first place. Back at the wedding, Chesney tells Dev that he was the one who called the police so he could get that stupid crime number. Dev's furious about this. Asha urges Dev to tell Aadi, but Dev wants them all to sleep on it and calm down. So Asha decides to take it into her own hands and goes to tell Aadi at his house, or his flat in the precinct. Right. But Aadi doesn't really give a shit and tells her about the $5,000 bribery attempt and throws her out. And that's as far as we get with that.
Yeah.
There's a great little non-exchange between Courtney Boobs and Asha, because Courtney Boobs keeps on trying to have little digs at Asha, and Asha just ignores her. It's such a great little bit of story.
Right, yeah.
When Asha pays her not one bit of attention.
Right, yeah, like while she's walking out the door, Courtney Boobs says, "You look great, babe." And that's when Asha slams the door. Mm-hmm. That was nice.
Loving Asha in the storyline in general.
This is my favorite brand of Asha. When she's,
she's protective of her brother.
Right. She's protective of her brother. She is strong. She does not give a shit.
Oh, she does not give a single shit.
Right.
She knows that Courtney Boobs hates her.
Right.
Does not care one little bit.
No, because she hates Courtney Boobs. Right. For good reason.
Yeah. She's a terrible, terrible person. I'm glad that we only saw her for a little bit.
Right.
In this week's episodes.
However, we must say, the actor is not responsible for how much we hate Courtney Boobs. Yeah, I mean, Aadi is... The fact that she's like, look, it was Chauncey who dialed it in. It wasn't Dad. At this point, he's like, I don't fucking care. How dare he give us $5,000?
Well,
You know, at
you're
this
having no
point.
problem spending it.
Right. Seriously. He's like, it's like, if it bothers you that much, give it back.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of hate this version of Aadi, who normally I love very much. And so I'm so mad at the show for making him kind of a dick at the moment.
I still think he's torn between getting his whole and his family.
Right.
I think he's already.
Yeah, he does
he's
seem to
maybe-
be kind of sick of Courtney Boobs.
He's maybe not regretting the independence that having his own place has given
Right.
him, but I think he's regretting sharing that with her.
Yeah.
All,
But he
all the
doesn't
time.
he doesn't want to admit to his dad and his sister
No, of course not.
that he's wrong.
All right, let's move on to our next storyline, which is who the hell's this wee prick? On Monday, that horrible wee youth that was a dick to Ryan last week, well, he's hanging out with Liam and Dylan, it seems. Taking the
Great.
piss out of Liam when the show remembers that Liam's asthmatic and he has to take a hit from his inhaler. And then he winds up a passing Gary who shows a bit of concern about this relationship. So that wee shitbag youth and Dylan and Liam are hanging around outside the salon after school when the shitbag sees that the police are nosing around Tyrone's car.
For another storyline.
And he does a runner, Dylan and Liam following close behind. And in the community garden, the shitbag admits to stealing the car and knocking over a wee lassie. Dylan and Liam agree to give him an alibi if he needs it.
He says someone. He's very specific to
Oh, yes.
not be that specific, because
Right.
if he was that specific, then Dylan and Liam would know that he's talking about Eliza.
Yeah, who they don't really know.
Well, they kind of know. They've been to parties together, or at least Liam has been to parties with Eliza.
Yeah, is Liam a bit younger than Dylan?
I think so.
Yeah.
And also, Liam is part of the Rising Stars thing, and so is Eliza, right?
Big shots, little big
Yeah,
shots.
Liam and Eliza are both part of Little Big Shots. So if the guy had said, I knocked over a little girl who got out of a car with her granddad,
Right.
he'd know exactly.
So anyway, they agree to give him an alibi if he needs it. And they all agree to bunk off school tomorrow.
Well, he
although-
bullies them into it.
Yeah, although Liam doesn't look happy about this at all. Back home in the rose gold flat, Gary quizzes Liam about the little shitbag who seems like a wrong un. Gary says he was a wrong un once and advises Liam to give the shitbag a wide berth.
Yes.
So, on Tuesday, Gary is heading off for a house clearance. That sounds like something you would do, Helen.
Absolutely. It was like, Gary and I are the same.
I kind of hoped that when Gary said it was heading off for a house clearance that Maria would play the
auction
talk music. He offers Liam a lift, but Liam would rather get the bus, and so they leave separately. At the bus stop, that shite bag, Dylan and Liam are dogging school when Sean comes along, telling them that they're cutting it fine. So they end up hoofing it, which Sean approves of. The grand day of dogging school is hanging around on the swings at the precinct.
Right, yeah. What the hell, man? At least do something fun.
Drink in a bus shelter. That's what you do when you dog school.
Go to the beach.
The beach. Oh, like the 50s?
Go
to the beach and drink some malt.
Go to the beach, get some sun, hang out with your friends.
In Manchester.
Well, not in Manchester. Go to a
Get
movie.
some booze, go to a bus shelter. That's all you need.
Go to a movie. Go to a theme park. That's what kids here do on like senior skip day. They go to that Ohio to Cedar Point.
Anyway.
This is where you're supposed to say, Ohio?
No.
Oh, you suck.
Asshole Features has some disposable vapes that he passes around. Dylan and Asshole Breath get wired in, but Liam is saving his for later. Dylan shakes his head. So Asshole Features and Dylan pressure Liam to try the vape, and of course he has an asthma attack. Prick for Brains slinks off, leaving Dylan to call an ambulance. Maria and Gary are furious
Yes, they
at
are.
Liam for vaping. Maria is under the impression this happened at school, so Liam has to come clean, but refuses to say who gave him the vape, and Dylan, who's still hanging around, insists it wasn't him. Then he hightails it out.
Right.
Gary thinks it was a cocky cock face from yesterday, and Liam confirms it.
Are you just going to keep doing this?
Well, now we find out that his name is Mason Radcliffe from the Dodgy estate.
Right. Yes.
Gary.
Yes. Harry Potter's big brother.
Gary has heard of the family, and they're inbred cannibals, like Texas Chainsaw. Maria storms round to Eileen's to shout at Dylan and Mason. Mason slinks out quick sharp, leaving Dylan to sit and lie to Maria's face. Maria is sure to mention that Dylan was dogging school and vaping, and leaves Sean to fold his arms in a huffy way and take care of his son. Which is nice. It's nice to see Sean being a parent. Just so we're clear, Dylan has been there this whole time. Right, and we just never saw him. Right. But let's remember, almost all of the other children are also invisible. Because you thought he'd gone back to London. No, you thought he went back to London. No, you thought you'd gone back to London. No, you did. No, it was you that did. Why are neither one of us going, London? That's, I'm waiting for you to do it. He went back to London. Maria gets home and instantly grounds Liam, who seems affronted to learn that she shouted at Mason and Dylan too. Liam heads to his room and gets a message from Mason warning him that snitches get stitches and asthmatics get pneumatics. On Wednesday, at the Rose Gold flat, Gary has lost his keys. Urgh. Liam gets a text from that stupid shite bag telling him to skip off school again today, so Liam pulls a sickie instead to get out of it, with Gary and Maria giving him the benefit of the doubt after the asthma attack. Liam does mutter under his breath though, calling Maria a Karen. What the hell, man? Do people don't call one another Karens in the United Kingdom, do they? Yeah, of course they do. Dylan and Ballbreath meet up in Nina's Rolls. Dick Features thinks that Liam is dogging school because he snitched them yesterday. Dylan is sure that Liam is a good guy and will keep quiet. So Stupid Hair Prick is at the precinct with other assholes, and they start picking on Dylan for Sean being gay. And I was like, we just had this huge big gay wedding and now we're back to homophobia. We had Vaughn on his homophobic rant on Wednesday, and then we had the limp-wristed Mason talking with a lisp. Right. As he's supposedly impersonating Sean. And those scenes were more or less back-to-back. I was like, what on earth is the show doing here? Right. Because we already hate this guy. It's fine. We don't need to do this. No, we get it. We don't need the homophobia. He's a horrible, horrible prick. But you know what this gives a chance to do? It gives a chance for us to be, oh, well, Dylan's going to tell him off because he loves his dad. And then he doesn't. No. So now we hate Dylan. So Dylan and Assface are at the bus stop. Pricky Von Prickerson O'Dickhead has an idea of breaking into the boarded up Rovers to steal the booze. Sean comes along, furious to see Dylan there as he's grounded, and quickly shoos him off home. So Dylan gets home in a mood. Sean explains his concerns about his stupid fucking friend and his stupid fucking haircut and his stupid fucking voice. And his face. Don't forget his face. And his breath. Sean knows the type and reckons that Dylan is being led astray. Dylan says he's not a sheep, and he storms out, wishing that he'd never moved here from that London. Yeah, because remember, the whole reason why he moved from that London is because people in London were making fun of him for having a gay dad, even though they've never even met Sean. Yeah. I mean, it was fine if you'd met him. Back at the Rose Gold flat, Dylan comes in to see how Liam's doing. He apologises for yesterday, and Gary and Maria reluctantly accept it and give Dylan and Liam some time together. Dylan explains that Shit for Brains knows that Liam grassed him up. Liam doesn't care and says that he hates him anyway. But Dylan takes Turd Features' side here, saying that he doesn't want to hang out with a loser like Liam anymore. And that's as far as we get with that. And Liam also says, I didn't grass him up. Gary figured it out. Because like recognizes like. Mm-hmm. And Gary used to be awful and murder people, but now he's nice because he's a good stepdad and he and Maria work. Now, I can kind of relate to this story because... You used to be a shitbag? I used to be friends with a shitbag. And I was friends with a shitbag at the expense of my other friends. And as a result, I ended up being fairly sad and lonely for maybe 4 years. Stuck in this asshole's trajectory and being the only guy that was really supposedly my friend, but he was never my friend. Right, because bullies... I didn't like him, and he didn't like me, I'm sure. Yeah, he probably didn't even like himself, because most bullies hate themselves because they're bullied by other people first. So... Like their dads. So I see a lot of myself in Dylan here, and it made me regret not having the strength to stand up to this idiot and just walk away from him.
You were a kid. You didn't know.
Well, I
And
saw some other people that I was friendly with doing that. They just ignored him.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I'd done that.
Yeah.
But, you know, these things happen.
I don't know. I was always a kid who was bullied. So, and then, you know, later in life have my middle school and elementary school bullies, because I wasn't really bullied in high school. But my middle school and elementary school bullies friend me on Facebook and then apologize, which is weird. And then some people friended me on Facebook and apologized. And I said, you are on the side with me. You have nothing to apologize for. But apparently they may have said something behind my back or something. Like one of my first friends from school to come out to me was like, well, you know, I was really insecure because I don't want to, because I don't know if you know, but I'm gay. And I say, yes, Eric, I know. We all knew.
Right.
We knew then.
Yeah.
It makes me sad because, like I said, Dylan has been through this already and stood up for his dad and moved. So this seems like backtracking. It's like, what's so attractive about this particular bully that you're going to take his side over your dad? Mm-hmm. Or are you just so tired of having a gay dad because you're, you know, a teenager and your prefrontal cortex isn't fully fused yet, that you tend to be an idiot sometimes?
Yeah, I don't know. It's uncomfortable watching something that kind of hits home like that. I hate,
absolutely.
I hate Mason with every bone in my body.
His name's Mason. Of course you hate him.
And yet I'm thinking, Dylan, you've got a perfectly good friend in Liam here.
Right. And he's got other friends, like, what's his name? The one with one leg.
What's so great about this guy?
Right.
Just because he vapes.
And is scuzzy.
And
is from the wrong side of the precinct.
I don't know. But
is taller.
It's making me, I don't know. I don't know how much of an appetite I have for this kind of Grange Hill storyline.
In fairness, not an awful lot of storylines for the younger male folk. You know, we don't really get an awful lot of stories for our younger boys unless it's Sam.
Or Max.
Right. I don't really count Max because he's like an older teenager. So he's closer to like, although it's kind of weird. To me, it seems like he's closer to like Amy and Asha and Addie's age, but he never hangs out with them. They were all in school together and they used to kind of hang out together, but not anymore. And that's kind of weird. I guess it's because he's a racist shitbag, or he was a racist shitbag.
Yeah, this one though is going to struggle to keep me won over. I think I'm at the moment cautious about it. Mm-hmm. I'm interested to see, I think, what direction it goes in, but I'm really worried about what direction eventually it does go in.
What I'm really disappointed in, and I don't know if you feel the same, I'm really disappointed that it was this anonymous shitbag who was freewheeling around Tyrone's car, because that feels like a cop-out.
Or unless the suspects were Dom or Cassie.
Right.
And I think it makes more sense that it's not them.
I would have preferred it to be one of them, though.
Well, there was a story in that they kind of briefly touch, and we'll talk about it when we come to it. It going in this direction, yeah, I'm not sure how satisfying it is.
It's not.
That's the answer to that. That's been kind of lingering about for a while. But then I don't know if it's been lingering about for a while because we'd worked out whose car it was weeks ago, and we're maybe expecting something else to come for it, something
right.
more more carefully constructed than this.
Right.
A little interested to see where it's going to go, but I don't know, that it's just going to be so hard to put up with this Mason guy for any length of time.
Right.
Because he has no redeeming qualities whatsoever. He's just so unadulteratedly
right
shit.
Right. And we already have racist Kelly for that.
We don't need another character who's bad because he's bad.
Right. Yeah. Because we've had that. Like I just mentioned racist Kelly, and then there was what's his name, the one who killed Seb.
ITV Corey.
Yes, ITV. How could I keep forgetting his name? His name is ITV Corey.
Your memory sometimes. You don't even remember it was you who thought that Dylan was in London. Anyway, let's move on to our next storyline, which is Recovery Shmecovery. On Monday, Evelyn drops in to see Tyrone, who is getting ready for his important meeting today about the cab stuff. Cassie appears along with Hope, and everything is a picture of calm and assistance, which immediately makes Evelyn suspicious. Turns out Tyrone is bribing the girls to do their housework and stuff.
$5 a week.
Cassie,
or £5 a week.
Yeah, it's easier if they pay them in pounds.
Right.
Because then otherwise, Hope has to go to the Bureau de Change to try and get her pocket money. Cassie, at this point, is under the impression that she will be at the meeting about the cab stuff later, too. And Nina Rose, Cassie is very excited about this meeting and is sounding Tyrone, Abby and Kev off about some shit ideas that she's had.
Right, like a buy one, get one free card or something.
No one is interested. And Tyrone tells her that maybe it would be a good idea if she just kept her fucking mouth shut at the meeting and let him and Kev do the talking. Cassie tells them they can shove their meeting up their arses.
Right.
Up their arses. Haven't done that in a while.
No.
And she storms off. Abby's like, they do own the business.
Right, yeah.
Just let them talk.
Right, yeah. And Abby's not offended by this at all.
No.
You know, even though she does have the gift for the gab, and she also does have a lot of experience.
You'd let Abby talk to this woman who runs this cab firm before you'd let Kev talk to her. Let's be honest.
Yes. But you would let all three talk to her before you would let Cassie talk to her.
Anywhere near that, yep. The meeting takes place at the garage when Nina's Rolls is right there empty. I don't know. But then the cops go in looking for Tyrone. Again, the cops just wandering in looking for Tyrone, and they ask him about his car being involved in a hit and run. At the cop shop, Tyrone is pointing out that he was the one who reported the car stolen.
Right.
And no one else in the house would drive the car. No one? Asks the cop. No one, says Tyrone. But as I say, Cassie.
Oh.
So Cassie and Evelyn are in Nina's Rolls when Tyrone comes in to explain about the hit and run, and he asks if Cassie would have any idea who did it on September the 11th. Cassie outright denies it. A passing Roy points out that he knows exactly what everyone was doing that night. They were all arguing in the cafe. Cassie is furious at the accusations, and for the second time that day, she storms out of the cafe.
Right, yes. And then Roy disappears for a while, and then he comes back in and says, I remember this because it was September the 11th and the Twin Towers disaster, and I was reading an article about it. And I thought, as an American, I thought that was nice that they acknowledged the horrible tragedy of 9/11.
Yeah,
because everybody else is like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Evelyn tells Tyrone that the best thing that he can do for an addict is detach with love and protect himself.
And that is absolutely true. That's what they tell you in Al-Anon.
Asking her about the hit and run was a perfectly reasonable question. Tyrone, though, is worried that they'll never see Cassie again. Imagine being in a relationship with your mother that every time you have an argument with her, you're worried that she's never going to turn up again. Just, if that's how that relationship is, maybe you need to talk about that.
Maybe you need to rethink this relationship, pal.
Kev, though, finds Cassie in the community garden getting fucked on lager. She tells him about Tyrone's accusations. Kev stands up for his mate. While Cassie tries to get a bit familiar with him, she grabs his hand and calls him a friend. He tells her to sober up before she goes home, and he leaves her to it. Then he comes back with a kebab to help her sober up. Cassie is about to go home to face the music, but she's still out of her tits, so Kev tells her to come home to sleep on the couch at his place and tell Tyrone she's with a mate. Cassie very much looks like she's keen on getting a bit of Kev action, at which point her metamorphosis into Abby will be complete. On Tuesday, at the garage, Cassie comes along to thank Kev for taking care of her last night, but not like that. Kev doesn't appreciate having to lie to Tyrone about this, and Cassie mentions that she's missing a black mascara, so if he comes across it, let her know. Guess who's going to find that? Mm-hmm. And predictably, right enough, Abby comes along later, allows Kev to hang himself by saying that he had a quiet night on his own while she was with Wendy Crozier, that Wendy Flaming Crozier. Then Abby produces the mascara. So Kev comes clean and explains. Abby in the audience is unsure why he kept this a secret from her, but it's all good, and she believes Kev was just being the good Samaritan.
Now, where did she have that? Where did she have that mascara? It was like
in the bathroom. In the bathroom.
No.
On her eyes.
No.
Oh.
Because remember, Kev took her home directly from the community garden where she had gone directly from Nina's Rolls to the package store to get some beer and then go to the community garden to get drunk. And I know they're not called package stores in the United Kingdom.
Off licenses.
Yes. So it's, and then she does not go home on purpose. She goes to Kev's to sober up. So she didn't go home to like grab her beauty bag with all of her makeup and stuff or a clean set of clothes. So where was she sticking that mascara?
In her pocket.
That just seems weird. Mascara in your pocket as opposed to like lipstick or something that, you know, you have to reapply occasionally through the day, which is not what mascara is. I'm so confused.
I don't know. Kev says she wouldn't be the first damsel in distress that he's rescued, which doesn't go down well.
No.
But I also remember him throwing Abby to the curb on more than one occasion.
Correct.
And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Yes. And Abby says, you know, you're lucky I've mellowed in my old age. I would have been throwing fists earlier in my youth if I thought you were doing the dirty on me.
Yeah, we've got an awful lot of things happening here that don't really matter that much. I guess this was a week that was more focused on the wedding and the last storyline that we're going to talk about.
Yes.
Because all that we get here is, well, we find out that Tyrone knows about the hit and run, I guess.
Uh-huh.
We don't really know if they get the contract with the cab firm, and frankly, who cares?
Right.
And then there's just this fleeting few looks between Cassie and Kev that Cassie kind of seems to like the look of this man who needs a wash and a shave.
Well, like, yeah, she's just...
Because he's like her.
This is what she does. She kind of latches on to whoever is nice to her. Remember when she tried to latch on to Dev?
Don't we have racist Kelly for that? I mean, she's just a chameleon at the moment, this character of Cassie. She's Abby 1 minute, and she's, I don't know, I'm just a little disappointed that this is the road that the Cassie character has gone down.
Yeah.
It's unsatisfying at the moment.
No. I did like the fact that she and Evelyn were sharing a cuppa at Nina's Rolls, just the two of them.
Wasn't that interesting that when it's just the two of them,
And
they get on absolutely fine.
And speaking nicely to one another.
You introduce Tyrone into that, and all of a sudden they're arguing again.
Yeah. Although it seems more on Cassie's side than Evelyn's side, because Evelyn wasn't nasty when she went over there in the morning. I mean, she did complain about giving the girls 5 pounds apiece every week. And frankly, maybe she has a point. I don't know. But so there were nice bits. And I'm glad that Tyrone now knows that his car was involved in a hit and run.
That's nice, is it?
It's nice because it furthers that particular storyline along.
But it furthers it away from him, because now it's nothing to do with
right, yeah,
him or Eliza, really. It's now this prick Mason storyline.
Right. I don't know. But again, like I said, the kid was very, very careful not to be really specific about who he knocked down.
Oh, yeah.
If, you know, so I think once Dylan and Liam find out that it was Eliza that he knocked down,
Well, they're going to find that out because she's almost got that sticky off now, which we're about to talk about. So we might as well do it.
Yeah, sure.
On this storyline of Dick and Dom. On Monday, Yasmin's coming home today, so Stu's making a special pasta dinner for her.
Yay!
Alia tastes the tomato sauce by using a metal spoon to dip into a wooden spoon that dips into the sauce. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
She uses the wooden spoon to dip into the sauce because I think it's the wooden spoon that Stu has already been using.
Stu's had it up his arse? Or
no,
what?
that Stu's already been using. But then she uses a metal spoon to
smaller
scoop it up.
tasting spoon.
Right, yes. And I think that's because Stu is going to later on put that wooden spoon back in the sauce. So he doesn't want Alia's saliva in his sauce. So she's being considerate.
It's like, how many spoons do we need for this operation here?
2.
Well, couldn't you use the metal spoon to go into to skim some...
No, because it's metal. It would get hot.
by being in the sauce for a fraction of a second.
Well, it's not the sauce, it's the steam around the sauce.
Oh, sometimes I think you just enjoy disagreeing with me.
What was your first
Yeah, marrying me. That was the first clue.
Hey, you said it, not me.
He and Alia chat about the Eliza situation, which has changed significantly since Yasmin left. Alia reminds him that Eliza is where she wants to be, so you need to let it go. Yasmin gets back, full of questions about Eliza, but eventually enthuses on how great a time she had in Pakistan. Meanwhile, Stu is staring suspiciously at Tyrone's car, seemingly sure that he's seen it somewhere before. You think? Inside, Stu brings Yasmin up to speed with everything, up to the point where he recognised Tyrone's car a few moments ago. Yasmin has died a little from boredom, but eventually offers her condolences that he's had to deal with this on his own. She's now here to offer all the support she can. Then the police call Stu to tell him that it was Tyrone's car, but Tyrone has an alibi, so they're no closer to finding out who knocked Eliza down. Yasmin has been in touch with Dom and managed to convince him and Eliza to come over for dinner. And Stu tells her about the blackmail attempt, and Yasmin is furious about that. So on Tuesday, Stu is hanging around like a bad smell outside Nina's Rolls when Roy comes out with Freddie. It seems Freddie is in no mood to walk, which is going to cause Roy problems with the errands that he has to run, so Stu offers to look after the dog while Roy does his business, or vice versa. Fucking Stu.
Fucking Stu.
At home, Yasmin is surprised to see Freddie. Stu explains his favour for Roy, but Yasmin thinks he's just trying to impress Eliza, who's coming over today. Remember, Helen? Remember that Eliza's coming over today?
Yes.
She reminds him that moving back has to be Eliza's decision, so no dogs are going to sway that. Stu takes the dog back to Roy.
Who is like, what the fuck? I need to do my errands.
You said you were going to look after this dog.
You said you're going to look after my dog. And the dog... Eliza knows the dog. She knows the dog isn't going to stay. So why would that even work?
That's stupid.
It is.
But when Eliza and Dom visit, he announces that they're only there to allow her to get more of her stuff. Eliza runs off to do that, and Dom tells Stu and Yasmin that he will not be emotionally blackmailed by either of them, because it seems that Yasmin had said to Dom that if you don't allow us to see Eliza, we might have to have a little word with social services about this. He says that he's Eliza's dad, and he doesn't have to explain himself, bitches.
Yeah, even though when the shoe was on the other foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The atmosphere is frosty. Dom would like to put all this behind him, but Stu refuses to shake his hand and swears that he never will. Eliza comes down, says cheerio to Yasmin and Stu, and he puts on a brave face for her benefit, and then she and Dom leave, and hopefully we will never see either of them ever again. Stu's down in the dumps after they go. Yasmin thinks this isn't the end and that Eliza may well come back. Stu complains that Dom was deliberately trying to provoke him, although it was really Stu who started it. Yasmin suggests just letting it play out and to be there for Eliza if she needs him, and if she doesn't, well, then there's nothing else they could have done. And later, Stu steps outside and calls Leslie. Who the fuck is Leslie?
That's the town I work in.
To look into the matter they've been discussing.
And this is where we're like, is Leslie a man or a woman?
Interestingly, I spelt Leslie on Tuesday, I-E, which I think is more a man. On Wednesday, if we thought we'd seen the last of Eliza, she's already on the phone to Stu arranging a visit today. Privately, Stu is surprised that Dom has allowed it, but has agreed to it while Yasmin goes on about how hot Sting is for some reason.
She's not wrong.
She loves a bit of Sting with his loot. Oh, that loot gets her hot and bothered.
Yes, well, he does have very piercing eyes.
Poor Trudy.
And
Blink if you need help, Trudy.
And I loved him when he was on season 2 of Only Murders in the Building.
Eliza arrives later after school, and she's not the cheeky wee madam she was a couple of weeks ago. She reveals that Dom hasn't arranged a pick-up time, and she goes off to wash her hands before dinner. Stu thinks this is weird, but lets it go. And later, Dom shows up and announces that Eliza didn't ask permission before the visit. Eliza lets it out that Dom always refuses her requests to see her granddad. Stu reacts childishly about this, and he and Dom have a low-key slanging match in the street. As Dom takes Eliza away, Yasmin doesn't know why Stu doesn't know how to keep a lid on his temper. Then he gets a text from Leslie asking for a meeting. So later, Stu meets up with Leslie, who is a woman, and appears to be a private investigator.
Now that's a twist. A woman who's a private investigator?
Whatever, next. He wants the dirt on
They'll be
Dom.
asking for the vote next.
Chopped liver. He wants the dirt on Dom for family court. Give me a couple of weeks, she says. And that's as far as we get with that this week. Is this story still boring you to tears?
It's nice that Dom is proving that we were all right to hate him, because, here he is. He's now forbidding Eliza to see her granddad, which, is not going to go down well in family court, by the way, because the whole thing is, well, whatever Eliza wants. So if her dad is keeping her from doing what she wants.
Just like how Stu was stopping Eliza doing what she wants, though.
Right. But
the shoe is on the other foot, Stu.
Yes.
If that is your name. And you don't like it. You don't like them bananas. Or apples.
It's apples. It's also very interesting that it didn't take very long for Eliza to say, no, actually, I'd like to spend more time with my granddad, please. And now she's lying to her dad about where she is when she's spending time with her granddad. I find that all very interesting.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, Eliza, you've made your bed. Now you need to lie in it.
Yeah, but I am wondering what kind of dirt this Leslie is going to turn up. Because she's going to turn something up, right?
She's going to find something. She's not going to come back in 2 weeks and say, nope.
He's fine.
Pure as a driven snow.
Yeah, because we know this dude's not pure as anything.
I mean, we've got Yasmin back. Yasmin's somewhat of a calming influence on Stu. Although you wouldn't guess it. This temper thing of his is just... It just makes me remember how little I care about it.
Right, because we remember him as the lovely wandering hippie who had not a care in the world when he was living on the street.
Oh, with those baby blues.
Yes, and perfect teeth.
And that hair and that beard and those baby blues.
Oh, so glorious.
Now he's just like that boring man who complains about everything.
Now he's insufferable. Now he's my dad. He just needs to be racist.
Yeah, give it time. Our final storyline tonight is Canadian Psycho. On Tuesday, Jenny is busying herself at Rita's, which is getting on Rita's tits. Jenny needs a job, but Stephen reminds her that they're going to Thailand permanently and they should be more concerned about looking for a job and a flat out there. This all seems a bit much for Jenny, who thinks that there's no rush. Jenny's in need of rolls later on her laptop when Stephen comes along to show her the site for the Cinnamon Social Bar in Thailand.
Yes, that sounds exactly like a bar in Thailand.
This bar is owned by a friend of Stephen's and he's apparently looking for a manager. He thinks Jenny would be ideal. Jenny again is quite cool on the idea, unsure she even wants to stay in Thailand. She calls it a daydream and this is time to get real now. Rita and Jenny chat at the end of the day about the potential move. Jenny expected Rita to guilt trip her into staying, but Rita is doing the opposite. If she passes this up, it needs to be Jenny's choice, Rita says, and Rita just wants the best for her.
Right. And neither one of them think of poor Daisy.
No, not once. On Wednesday, Jenny's getting out and about more now that the Rovers is closed down, and it's quite nice to see her turning up at the cabin for a little change.
Right, yes.
She's still fretting about the move to Thailand, but she's made up her mind. She's going to go. Rita is thrilled to see the back of her, and Jenny asks her just to keep stum about it for now. Meanwhile, Carla isn't able to phone the clinic about her LSD hair test results at home, so she does it at the factory, where Stephen is able to sneak up on her. She throws him out of the office before she learns that the results of how high her hair was has been sent to streetcars and not streetcars flat. And that's kind of weird, isn't it? Because you know who works at streetcars? Peter.
Right. So you'd think if a letter addressed to Carla came into the streetcar's office, they would hand it to Peter to give to Carla 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, this seems weird and maybe just bad planning.
Yes.
So, Daisy finds Jenny and Nina's rolls, and Daisy is in a mood about this. Rita has spilled the beans about the Thailand move. And then Stephen comes in and joins them, and Jenny breaks the news to him too. Stephen asks for a private word to make sure she's certain, but she promises that she's 100% into this stupid idea. Stephen is thrilled. Daisy less so. So Carla goes to streetcars to retrieve her mail, which, yeah, is a strange plot point. Let's just call it bad planning. Because we're just moving Carla about for some reason.
Right.
She tells Peter what it is, and he's already poo-pooing the very idea of it. She opens it up, and gets the confirmation she was looking for. Her hair was tripping balls right enough.
Yes.
Peter instantly backtracks, starts
Yes.
blaming the hospital for not picking it up.
Right, which is something we said.
And then Carla says, well, they wouldn't have been looking for it.
Right, but maybe they should have been testing for drugs when she was all of a sudden erratic.
Carla thinks this was all Rufus Houndstooth's doing, and she intends to prove it. But back at the flat, she's checked the dates, and they don't line up. When she was ill, Rufus had been nowhere near her, and this seems to put Peter into action. Later, Carla has transported herself back to the factory where she's furious that Michael has got her tea order wrong. He apologises profusely and explains that it's normally Sarah or Stephen who makes it, and a penny drops for Carla.
Right.
Fucking Sarah.
It's funny that this whole Carla doesn't take full fat milk in her tea has come back up again.
Yeah. Later, Carla calls Stephen into her office for a meeting. He wonders what's up, so Carla does a Poirot and reveals that she knows it were him who spiked her coffee with LSD to make her seem crazy so he could get his mitts on the factory. Stephen obviously denies it vehemently. Sarah and Michael come in to check on everyone, and Carla explains her theory to them. Michael thinks it's far-fetched. Stephen would rather discuss this privately and calls her a raving mad woman.
Fuck you, man.
Sarah checks out the results and confirms that yes, there was LSD. Stephen swears on Audrey's life that he had nothing to do with it.
Uh-huh.
And Sarah gives him a bit of a side eye at this.
Right.
So Carla storms off, intent on proving Stephen guilty, and warns Sarah to watch her back. Who knows what her uncle is capable of? Stephen thinks she's in the throes of another breakdown. Michael points out that she did have LSD in her system, and Sarah eyes her uncle carefully again, knowing what she does about Audrey.
Right, yes. And then Stephen's like, well, how do we know she didn't just take it herself? And it's like, would she be this angry if she'd taken it herself?
Right. In the bistro, Stephen meets up with Jenny. He wants to skip their meal out tonight. Jenny, though, wants to go to the cop shop to check the progress of the Teddy case. And there's a lovely little quip from Stephen when he asks what poi is. Because Jenny's been looking up poi on the internet. And she explains it's juggling with big balls of fire without getting burned. And he says he reckons he'd be dead good at that. Back at the flat, Peter is 100% behind Carla and reckons Stephen's a scumbag, but agrees with Sarah that they need evidence. Carla is now of the opinion that Stephen might be behind Rufus's death. Peter advises caution. These allegations could cause bother. At the police station, Jenny hasn't got any more details from the cops about Teddy, but reckons that the cops know more than they're letting on.
Right, and they have a vibe that there's something wrong here.
As they're there, Carla barges by to go in herself. Nicely done, Peter. Why is he not there with her?
Right, yeah.
Stephen quickly sends...
Especially since he just said we need to be careful because he could be very dangerous.
Right. Stephen quickly sends Jenny home, claiming to be on the way to the kebab shop for dinner, but as soon as Jenny's gone, he goes into the cop shop too.
Right, and there's an inconsistency problem here.
Right.
Swain.
So DS Swain meets up with Carla, and Carla explains her theory. Swain is sympathetic to an extent, but explains that this is kind of circumstantial and they need more. They need solid evidence if they're going to get Stephen banged up for this. She needs more to go on. Carla is furious and storms out.
And Swain tries to stop her.
Yep. Outside, she runs into Stephen, who wants to know...
He walked in!
Yeah.
He walked in! Why is he outside now? He walked in. Did he walk in, look around, not see Carla, and then walk back out again?
I guess he must have.
And then just loomed at the door, waiting for people to come. Did the cops not find this suspicious that this man is just looming at the door?
Why is this menacing man just hanging about outside the cop shop?
Right, yes.
Maybe, if only there was somebody here who had the powers of arrest.
Right.
Outside, she runs into Stephen, who wants to know if he should expect a visit from the Popo. For some reason, Carla admits that they're not interested, but she's not going to give up. Back at the factory, Stephen buys a one-way ticket to Bangkok when Sarah comes in and asks if he thinks he's about to be sacked, because if he is, he still needs to pay Audrey back, and she refuses to keep her mouth shut forever.
Right.
Stephen says that he's on it.
Which he's not.
Then Swain turns up on the street and has a conversation in the street with Carla. She explains that she thinks Carla might be onto something and advises that she steers clear of Stephen for her own safety and to keep a low profile. Stephen can't know that the police are looking into him. And of course, coming out of the kebab shop across the street, Stephen hears most of this.
Sween. I so love the fact that now that I'm assuming that now that she's done filming The Long Shadow, she's on this case now and they've forgotten all about Craig and his shadow.
Yes.
It's like, okay, she's back now. Craig can go be racist somewhere else.
Right. As this is happening, we also have Tim's mum about the house going on.
Woohoo! Remember how worried we were that Elaine was gone forever?
Yeah.
I'm so glad we were wrong on that.
So, back at the start of the day, Tim and Sally bump into each other on the street. She tells him that she's expecting a special package today that he might have to sign for.
But not like that.
And she warns him not to open it. Now, Homer, don't you eat this pie. Tim reckons it's something kinky. A woman's police officer outfit.
No, a prisoner. A woman's prisoner outfit. Yes.
She also berates him for still having his phone on silent, even though it's been fixed.
They're going to play Orange is the New Black.
Sally is the new Tim. An oddly officious postie delivers the parcel.
With a man bun.
And after a fashion, leaves it with Tim, but only after taking his photo. I love this postie. This postie needs to be in the show much more often.
Yes.
Imagine, right? This is exactly what I'm talking about with the tertiary characters. When you have really, really good tertiary characters, like when your doctor's excellent, and when the only good cop in the town is excellent.
Yes.
If you've got an excellent postie who's speaking to everybody on the street.
Right.
When he's delivering the mail.
Right.
You could be having little cheeky interactions with them, maybe knowing some of their business as well.
Right.
All that. This is such a great opportunity for a really good postie character. And it should be this guy.
I love the conversation about, because Tim's like, you're not our usual guy. And he's like, he was bitten by a dog, but I'm pumptish. And then Tim's like, oh no, whereabouts? And the guy says the location, and Tim's like, no, what part of his body?
Right.
So funny.
This guy needs to be in the show every week.
This is the stuff that we come for. Not the, grooming storylines or the floating guns. We want more conversations with the postie.
This is exactly
and
it.
Fish guy.
This is exactly it.
And old kebab man.
It's these tertiary characters that add that extra dimension to it and give us the fun element.
Yes.
I've got a tune in my mind for the postie guy, but anyway, we'll see if we need it. Despite being told not to open it, Tim fucking tears the package and limb.
And he does it exactly the way you do it, which makes me mad every time. It's
limb
like,
from limb.
Do not demolish the package. I can use it again.
He finds an anniversary present. It's a wallet. Oh, pig's tits, because it sounds like Tim's forgotten about it.
Yes, and he's forgotten their anniversary.
Later, that's what we're talking about.
Yes.
Later, Sally gets home from the factory, full of gossip about the shouting at the factory between Carla and Stephen. Tim reckons it'll all be Stephen's fault. Sally sees that he's had his mitts on her parcel, and Tim has tried to cover it up by just wrapping it in sellotape as far as I can make it. She's very put out that he ignored her instructions and spoiled the surprise. Tim, though, is thrilled by his new wallet and takes this as a sign that Sally wants her whole, and they're about to get on with it when Tim's mum just wanders into the house.
Yes.
She's back.
She's got a key.
She's tried to get a hold of Tim, but his phone was on silent.
Yes.
So Tim makes a point of putting the ringtone back on.
Yes.
So Tim's mum and Tim are out for a walk, talking about how she's moving on from the situation with Stephen, and then they pass Stephen, and they all ignore each other until Tim's phone rings. And it's still the Birdie song ringtone.
Yeah, why wouldn't he have changed that by now? It was Steve who put that on his phone, and he went to the guy that knew Glenda to get it fixed.
Street,
yeah, Muhammad, who still has a thing for Glenda.
Mm-hmm.
Why, now that it's not in Turkish anymore, why wouldn't he have changed his ringtone back to what it's supposed to be, as opposed to just leaving it on silent all the time?
So Stephen,
because plot.
Here's the ringtone. Because I said this was going to happen the second that he had that Birdie song play that one time. I said, this is, Stephen's going to hear this. And sure enough, he did. Stephen hears it, and in a vertigo zoom, he realises it was Tim who was at the canal the other week when he was poking the water with a big stick. And that is how we end this week's episodes.
Yeah, why hasn't Tim gone to the police yet about that? Said, hey, I think you guys should check out the canal. Why he hates Stephen. Why wouldn't he have already gone to the police about this?
He hates Stephen. He thinks Stephen's been up to no good.
Right. He sees proof of that.
We already have one dead body.
Yes. And now he's poking in the canal. That can only mean another dead body.
Right.
I'll tell you one thing. They're never going to Thailand.
Oh, of course not. But I think they are going to go to an airport.
Do you think they're really going to pay to film in an airport?
They had Chesney in the airport.
When did they have Chesney in the airport?
When they was going to stop Granny Linda go off with Joseph.
Oh, that's right.
So
they do
they've
it
done it before. And then they do it with a horrible, unbelievable airport set.
Right, yeah, it's just all windows.
Yeah.
And like a green screen with an airplane on it.
Right. And then an actual airplane interior from the 1980s.
Which is always good. I mean, it's kind of dumb because we all know Tim would have changed his ringtone by now. But he doesn't because, of course, he can't because Stephen has to find out. And
well, he put it on silent, so maybe he just was happy with it.
Maybe he just forgot about the fact that it was like that. But I don't find it believable that Stephen would get the best of Tim in a fight. Because we've seen Tim fight.
Well, who knows?
And, you know, it's already unbelievable that he got the best of Leo and Teddy and those kids in the precinct that he bought LSD from who mocked him.
Well, gravity won in the fight between Stephen and Sinkhole Leo.
Right.
And Stephen basically rabbit punched
Right.
Teddy.
Yeah, it was a sucker punch with a stapler.
And then he stuck his head on.
He stuck
his foot on Rufus's head to drown him.
Right.
So
but let's also remember, he supposedly beat up those kids who were like now terrified of an old man.
Right. I don't know. I think the positioning of the pieces in this storyline has worked really well. I like this build up. We've been talking about whatever happens on Friday the 13th next week.
Yeah, Super Soap Week.
Super Soap Week is next week, I guess. This is
Super Soap Week.
This is what we've been waiting for. This is the culmination of the Stephen storyline. Who knows where it's going to go?
How are they going to wrap this up in 3 episodes?
Somebody else has got to die here. If they don't, I'm going to be massively disappointed. And if it's not a big name, if it's not a big name character, I'm going to be massively disappointed as well, because all we've lost so far is a bit part character in Rufus, as much as I liked him, a bit part character there, a bit part character in Teddy. And while Sinkhole Leo officially was on the show for a year, he was in it for a couple of months at the start and then a couple of months at the end.
Right, but he was engaged to like a main character.
So what? He wasn't a main character himself.
Yeah. Poor Jenny. First she's going to move to Canada with a man. And now she's going to move to Thailand with a man.
Do you think she has a map of the world on her bedroom window and she just scratches off countries that she's about to move to that get scuppered by her
never move
by a man?
Yes.
I do hope so.
Poor
No, I
Jenny.
really enjoy the way that they've constructed this, and the hair thing seems okay. We've maybe nudged that back a couple of weeks further than we absolutely needed to, and that feels like a little bit of a stretch. But everything else here, we've got Audrey, I think, about to find out about her house.
Yes.
Tim knows about the canal.
Right.
Sarah's really suspicious of him.
Yes.
Carla's really suspicious of him.
Yes.
Swain is really suspicious of him.
Right.
This is all really building up into what I really hope is going to be a massive week next week.
Now, do you think Stephen is going to jail, or do you think Stephen is going to die?
Jail.
Death.
Jail, I think, for me.
Death.
But I think he's going to kill again. And I'm really worried for Tim. I'm worried for Tim and I'm worried for Peter.
Well, only one of those two names are someone who's already announced they're leaving the show.
Peter has made a big deal, Chris Gascoigne has made a big deal of him leaving the show.
Yes.
What he says is going to be on a temporary basis.
Right.
He's taking a break.
Right, but
That
he
could
hasn't...
that could be bullshit, right?
Right, and that could be... Because he hasn't set when he would return.
No.
Just, an extended break.
And I don't see him and Carla separating again, although he was away sailing for however long he was away for. I don't see him... I don't see them breaking up for a year or something.
Right,
like that.
especially since now Peter believes her.
Right.
And is on her side. And is not suspicious of her.
So I'm very concerned for Peter. And I'm very concerned for Tim.
Yeah. Who else do you think it might be?
I really don't think it's anyone else. It's been pitched as there are surprises in store next week. And
I think it's David. I think David's going to die.
what's David got to do with any of it?
That's his uncle.
He's barely been in the storyline, though.
Yes, but Jack P. Shepherd has said that he's very involved in the storyline. And I'm just waiting for that to happen.
Because it's not happened yet.
No. Maybe it's Craig.
Oh, yeah. Well.
Because, if a cop dies, it's all right. As long as it's not Swain.
Well, I have seen on Twitter that Vicky Myers has been filming recently.
Yes.
So.
Yay!
So I think she's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And they'd be crazy to do anything bad to her. The buzz that is around Swain from the fandom at the moment is incredible.
Yes. And well deserved.
It's incredible. It's well deserved. It's gadass levels of adoration for D.S. Swain, and I'm 100% behind that.
Absolutely. I don't think there's ever been a detective in this show that we love more than Swain.
No, not at all.
No. We give them funny nicknames, but
yeah, and we all enjoy that, right?
Yes. Yeah, but let's point out, when it comes to Swain, we gave her a theme song and not a nickname.
Well, she was DS Blondie to start with, I think.
And I never liked that.
But she needed something far grander.
Right. So she has a theme song now.
Oh no, not that one. That's Tim's mum's song.
Yes.
Once you start it, you're not allowed to stop it.
You can't. And that's another character, Swain. That's another character that we really love, so we gave her a theme song.
Well, I used to love her.
Yeah, it's kind of... Mostly love her, though.
No, this has been built up really nicely. Jenny's going to Thailand. All the chess pieces are in position here for a really great denouement, and I so hope that Corey deliver, because Stephen, for me anyway, I know you feel differently, but for me, Stephen has been a great villain, a pantomime baddie, campness personified.
With a capital C.
But I think he's given so much to the show in what has been a fairly low ebb for a while. If it hadn't been for Stephen, I'm not sure what storylines I'd have been clinging on to recently. So I really hope that we get the end that this storyline deserves next week. And fingers crossed that they do, but everything is in place for this to be explosive without explosions. And hopefully no guns.
No, especially no floating guns. I've had enough of guns this week. We have pistols in the kitchen at work on because we've had pickup for the gun auction. So like every time I go in to get a bottle of water or to put my lunch away, I have to walk by like 20 guns on each side of me.
Well, your lunch is pretty safe then.
Yeah.
So that was the week that was Coronation Street. Tell me, Helen, what was your moment of the week?
Well, it's really funny, isn't it? It's funny. The last week, our boring moment of the week happened in church. But for me, the moment of the week this week happened in church. It's Paul and Billy's church wedding.
The second wedding.
Yes.
Not the bistro one.
No. Isn't it cute? We had 2 weddings, and they had 2 weddings.
Not in the same day.
No. Yeah. And neither one of ours was in church.
And we're not gay. What did you talk about? The second one was in church.
Oh, that's right. I was thinking of the
fuck is wrong with you?
I was thinking of the reception. I was thinking that we got married outside. We didn't. We got married in a church. But they forgot to play the music. And Stelly was in jeans under her dress. Remember
Any other complaints?
No. None of that was a complaint. It was just pointing out that I remembered some things.
Anyway.
That's our...
What is?
The church wedding is our moment of the week.
Which church wedding? Our church wedding?
Not our church wedding. That happened 11 years ago. Paul and Billy's.
I'm looking for another co-presenter here.
Paul and Billy's church wedding is our
moment of the week.
Our moment of the week.
Our boring moment of the week.
Chauncey explaining to Dev about numbers.
About numbers?
About the crime numbers that the police need.
Oh, no, I was glad for me to do that because that was Dev's fault for not remembering that he needs to do that.
That's true. I just wanted to give it to Chauncey. Is it Daisy willing to ditch Daniel for Billy? That was a dumb conversation at the wedding, wasn't it?
That was nice. I think it was Michael being unable to make a cup of tea.
No, because
just so Carla can have a penny drop.
It was important though, and Michael never makes the tea.
It's got to be Mason, I think, isn't it? Mason's idea of dog in school sitting on swings.
Vaping.
That's our
boring moment of the week.
Not even really an original baddie, is he?
Sitting on swings, god damn it. What's your score out of 10 for this week then?
That's interesting because there was an awful lot I liked. There was a bit that had me scratching my head, but on the whole, I was happy this week.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
I was happy last week as well. As were you. I think I was happier last week.
No, I think I was happier this week. What did I give last week? Do you remember?
You gave it 6.8 last week and I gave it a 7.5.
Really? I scored that low last week?
Mm-hmm.
Because I was thinking 8.5 this week.
8.5. I think I'm 8.5 this week as well.
Aw.
I'm keeping it. I'm expecting something in the 9s next week.
Now remember, Super Soap Week has disappointed us in the past. I do believe I've mentioned a floating gun.
It normally disappoints us, but I have such faith that they're going to do this right and give this justice. But for me, this week, with the wedding and the build-up to this, it's an 8.5.
Yes.
It was a good week this week. I enjoyed it.
It was.
Anyway, that wraps up for another week. This episode was brought to you with thanks to our friends of the podcast, Daisy, French Helen, Pickles, DT,
Woo.
Trisha, and Wendy.
Wendy! Do you think her last name's Darling?
No.
Okay.
If you've ever used multiple spoons to taste some tomato sauce, write in to tell us about it and give us some photographic evidence and your favourite recipe. We're the Talk of the Street at gmail.com and we're at Corey Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads and Blue Sky.
Seriously, we have a lot of tomatoes.
You can shout me and Helen a coffee or become a friend of the podcast by heading to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street. Check out the clicky section of voggle.co.uk for links to our merch store and YouTube channel. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. And be sure to check out our pop culture sister podcast, The List of Lists.
Yes!
Thanks for making it to the end of another episode. And we will be back next week with more
Talk of the Street.
The Talk of the Street.
Bye.
Cheerio.